Let's broaden what we've just heard. Will anyone be held accountable? Remember, more than a dozen innocent civilians have been killed. Will those who have the families get justice? Is it time, as we are saying, to revoke AFSPA, or would that be a knee-jerk reaction? Some of the questions we want to raise. I'm joined by KG Kenye, Member of Parliament, Rajya Sabha, also a leader of the Naga People's Front and a former advisor he is to the Chief Minister of Nagaland. Lieutenant General Rameshwar Roy is former Director General, Assam Rifles. Kaushik Deka, Deputy Editor, India Today magazine, tracks the Northeast. And Vitso Rio, General Secretary, Naga Students Union, is also joining us. Let's get a reaction from you, Mr. Rio, first, because a lot of anger. We're seeing candlelight marches today by students groups, both in Kohima and Dimapur and also here in the national capital. What is it about this incident that has angered you so much?
You see, as far as the Naga Students Union Delhi is concerned, we are appalled. We are appalled by the atrocious, barbaric action that was taken by the armed forces. Our hearts are in pain. Our hearts ache because of the atrocities that were committed against innocent civilians. As a matter of fact, the Naga Students Union Delhi organized a candlelight vigil in solidarity to the lives that were lost. And we stand in solidarity with on behalf of the 50,000 members of the Naga Students Union.
But are you assuring me it will be peaceful? It's one thing to stand in solidarity with candlelight vigils. We've seen now at least a couple of reports coming in from Nagaland of some of these protests turning violent. Are you very clear that while you protest, the protest will be peaceful, Mr. Rio?
We have organized the candlelight vigil that has already been organized. And we want to demand the government to repeal the AFSPA. Nagas are peace-loving people. We want to contribute for the welfare of our society. We want to contribute for the welfare of our people. But for the past many decades, we have been under the draconian rule. This is not a single incident of its own. Incidents like this have been taking place since I remember. We have the Oinam incident, for example, where innocent civilians were murdered, were butchered, were massacred. Now, it is very unfortunate. I have already stated we're peace-loving people. We want to contribute.
You know,
but our demand is
sure. You're saying that no one doubts that the Naga people are peace-loving, but as we've seen in the past, there have been insurgent movements that continue. It's one of the longest insurgencies in the country. But I want to come to you, Mr. Kanye, as a member of Parliament. We've heard the anger that Mr. Rio is reflecting among students. Yes, there is a lot of anger against the army. But what would you believe as a member of Parliament will give you a sense that those responsible have been held accountable? What is it that the people and the government of Nagaland now really want, Mr. Kenye?
Well, the centre has rightly expressed their sincere regrets that means that the centre has owned the responsibility.
You're saying that the centre has owned responsibility, but the protests are continuing on the streets. We are getting reports of protests now from across Nagaland that could spread to other parts of the Northeast. Is it enough for Amit Shah, the Home Minister, to express regret in Parliament? Why has that not satisfied the people, Mr. Kenye?
They will not be satisfied unless the Armed Forces Special Powers Act is repealed.
So you are saying that based on this one incident, Mr. Kanye, the Armed Forces Special Powers Act should be repealed? Because there will be those within the army who will say that you need AFSPA in an area where there has been violence and insurgency in the past.
This debate has been on for the last 63 years. If you remember the genesis of this act, when it was brought to the Rajya Sabha in August 1958. There were marathon debates, and it went on for days together in that monsoon session. And we have had many far-sighted, prominent leaders of those days, starting from Rajasthan to Uttar Pradesh and Odisha and Andhra Pradesh, right from the north to the south of India, who have vehemently opposed the enactment of this Armed Forces Special Powers Act. They could envision that the consequences would be dastardly, that it would be abused by the armed forces, and it would create more animosity with the people of this region than bring them closer to the mainstream. But despite all their protests, all their reasonings, the government of the day in the 50s, in the late 50s, had gone ahead to enact this. And they have empowered the security forces, which they use with such impunity over the decades. This is one of the latest incidents only. We have countless cases pending with the National Human Rights Commission, shuttling between that commission and the Supreme Court over the decades, which are still awaiting the dispensation of justice.
You know, you're giving...
That is why I say...
You know, that's why you want the Armed Forces Special Powers Act repealed. Let's turn to the military. General Roy, you've been part of the Assam Rifles. You've heard what the kind of feelings being expressed. Now, in a statement Sunday morning, General Roy, the Assam Rifles had made it very clear that they were, you know, it's unfair to target them. That was the initial point, that they were still investigating what had happened. Your views on what has happened, is it fair to give the benefit of doubt in any way to the Assam Rifles for what has happened? They claim that they went on the basis of credible intelligence in a counter-insurgency operation. It eventually ends in the killing of innocent civilians. Do they have a case, a leg to stand on in your view?
Rajdeep, first of all, let me pay my condolences to the bereaved families through program of yours, and also say that this act of the armed forces and the army is highly regrettable, and I am repeating what has already been said by all the people who are uniformed, that they regret this kind of an incident. But at the same time, let me now tell you as to what are the operational constraints under which the army is operating in these areas for nearly 7 decades now. The Armed Forces Special Power Act itself was instituted in 1958 for all these eastern states, and that time there was a classical insurgency where insurgents used to move in uniform. Today's situation is that insurgency over the years, at least for last 30 years, it has downgraded itself into terrorist actions. You know, a very small group of people pick up arms and they carry out the acts of extortion and terrorism in all these areas. And let me also explain to your viewers that as on date, as I am talking to you now, there are more than 70 such groups in all the northeastern states put together. So therefore, I am not trying to defend the action that has taken place, where I have already expressed my regret. But at the same time, we must understand the operational constraints under which the army works. Now let me answer you in 2 parts. First is the action that has happened. This action is in the Mon district, which is controlled by the terrorist group called NSCN-K Khaplang group, which is now a mixture of 8 splinter groups, and this action probably is by KYKL group. The viable int was available, the credible int was available, based on which this ambush was in place, and this ambush was undertaken by special forces, which is 21 SF, which has been assigned to this area. And when at 4:30 in the evening on 4th of December this action took place, it is nearly dark at that point of time, you know, and these group of people, numbering about 6 to 8, were traveling in Bolero. Now, when the sentry or the scouts in the ambush party, they tried to stop them, the vehicle did not stop. And they, after stopping the vehicle, tried to run. They went helter-skelter. Maybe they got scared because of being challenged. But the point is that there is no way of confirming whether this was the terrorist group about which the army had the information, or these were the plain civilians who got scared on being challenged and they ran away. And special forces people are very sharp shooters, you know. So when they fired in the middle of the night, people got injured. And 2 of the injured were then subsequently, when the fire was not returned by these people, the armed forces or the army realized that something has gone wrong. They went to the site. They were seeing these people who were injured. 2 of those injured people were then evacuated to the Dibrugarh Medical Hospital by the army itself. And then the police of the area was informed, but by the time police could come, more crowd had gathered from the areas nearby, numbering about 400 to 500, and I am told that at that point of time, these were the small team operations by the special forces, and because of which they got outnumbered, and maybe in self-defense they would have fired. Only the inquiry will be able to say as to what was the sequence of events and how it all happened. This is one part of the story.
Sure, it's one part of the story. Sir, it's one part of the story, but the fact is it is a grave intelligence lapse to fire on innocent civilians. I appreciate as you are giving us the backdrop of the conditions in which the army operate in some of these places, and I want to get you, Mr. Rio, to respond to that. Because you're today sitting in Delhi Students' Federation, I can sense why you're angry, but here is an army officer explaining the ground realities. You say, yes, of course, Nagas are peace-loving, but we know that there are insurgent terrorist groups who have been operating. You cannot deny that, Mr. Rio.
You see, I will reiterate my statement that I've made earlier. We're peace-loving people, and we are attacked, disturbed area. And that is the reason why we have AFSPA there in our land. The reason we're disturbed is not because we are not peace-loving. The reason we're disturbed is because our peace is disturbed.
But who is disturbing the peace, Mr. Rio? Can we only say that it is what has happened, unfortunate as it is, that is responsible for it? Are groups like NSC and Khaplang Group and others who have been involved in extortion and terror in the area also not responsible?
You see, like you've stated, it is mind-boggling to have that lapse of intelligence. Don't you think so?
No, it is. It is. But I ask you, would when there is a terror attack that targets the armed forces, would Naga groups like yours come out on the street and also protest or not?
You see, as far as the Naga Students Union Delhi is concerned, I've stated earlier, we are against this act. We're against the atrocities that were committed. Like I've stated, this is not the first of its kind.
Fair.
It is our demand that this be made the last.
Okay.
And for this to be made the last, AFSPA should be removed. The draconian law should be removed.
Let me just take what you're saying to Kaushik Deka. You know, Kaushik, you're hearing the kind of voices, and it only needs a small trigger in Nagaland to explode. It's on a volcano's edge. When a dozen civilians are killed, there will be anger. The people of Nagaland have every reason to ask for accountability. It can't be just the Home Minister coming to Parliament and expressing regret. They want to see that those responsible are punished. How do you explain what is happening, this anger, this upsurge that is taking place in Nagaland today?
The basic problem is that the problem in Nagaland, the insurgency and everything that we see, nobody is actually taking care of the root of this problem. And we are always seeking a military solution to this problem, which has its roots in other causes. Now, Mr. Rio has said a very significant thing. We are peace-loving people and we want to contribute to the society. Now, this message hasn't reached Delhi properly. There is no communication. The communication happens between central forces or government machinery and insurgent groups. In between the Naga people, what we call in Delhi Aam Janata, they have hardly been stakeholders in this peace process. So the more important part is that they need to be stakeholders. They need to have more participation. One very simple statistics will explain. As everyone has said, that the APSA has been in power since 1958 in Nagaland. So till 2015, when actually the peace process to some extent involving the biggest group started, the insurgency didn't go down. It's still there for 63 years, even till today. The insurgency is there despite having a provision like APSA. But if we see from 2015, we have seen the government has admitted that there is a 66% downfall in insurgency-related issues. The terrorism has gone down by 66%. If it has gone down by 66%, then why this APSA is still there? The Chief Minister Neiphiu Rio has demanded repeal of APSA today.
Yes.
But the state government itself can repeal this because other neighboring states in Northeast, they have repealed this act.
No, but the
They
fact
have
is,
removed
the
it.
fact
So if
is,
it is disturbed area,
Yes.
even then, if it is disturbed area, and if you are admitting at one point in Parliament that the terrorism has gone down by 66%, which is a significant number. If we just look at Nagaland, the insurgency-related killing, whether it's of civilian or security forces of terrorists, it has from 2015, from 47, it has gone down to 4. If we discount this 13, the killing of this 13 or 14 people on day for yesterday. So if we discount that, then we see that it has come down from 47 to only 4. So if that has, to some extent peace has prevailed in the state, then why not listen to the voice of Rio and remove APSA for some time? At least give peace a chance.
No,
And,
but the question, Kaushik, is you say give peace a chance. I thought a few years ago when there was this high-profile public event or media event where the government of the day claimed that they had taken the peace process forward, they had achieved some kind of agreement with the NSA and IM and the key groups of Nagaland. It was hailed at the time. There was talk that there was never going to be any talk of separate flag, separate constitution, and we were moving ahead. And yet today, 5 years later, we still have AFSPA in place. So for all the talk of a peace agreement, on the ground, we haven't achieved the desired results.
Exactly. This is the point. It means, on one hand, you are talking about the peace process, but you are not giving peace a chance for the simple reason that those stakeholders, as I mentioned, there are more groups involved this time in the peace process, and because of there are other pressures also, there would be groups who would not want peace to prevail for the simple reason that terrorism has also become a cottage industry in Northeast. There are many players who would want terrorism to continue in that region, and that's why peace has multiple enemies in the region. But from both sides, the only problem is that the real voices, the people who are on the ground,
Yes.
the real situations, even today, the politics is going on whether APSA should be repealed or not. But nobody is understanding this issue that we are trying a military solution or any police solution to this issue, which has its roots in this gap of communication between the
Is it-
so-called mainstream India and the Northeast. Because Rio's voice
Yes.
is not coming to the mainstream India. So we are reacting, okay, army needs to act in certain environment. Why are not army, Indian armed forces, which are meant to protect the country and fight external enemies, have to go after Indian citizens?
General Roy, you want to answer that? General Roy, you want to answer that? That the army itself,
See,
instead of being part of the solution, has become part of the problem.
Rajdeep, I'll tell you where the problem is. The problem is that over the years, the instruments of the security apparatus which is with the states, that should have seen the upgradation and carry out a kind of a action to have their states peaceful. What has happened over the years is that every state found it very simple that let us not control the security situation in their state because these are border states, and recommend for the implementation or the area to be disturbed as declare it as a disturbed area. Please understand that there are 7 sections of this Armed Forces Special Power Act which was applied in 1958, rather approved by Parliament in 1958. Out of 7 sections, there are 3 operative sections of number 3, 4 and 5. If you read them, we will understand that the existence of Armed Forces Special Power Act in a particular state is on the recommendation of the state administration and the chief ministers who are duly elected leaders over there.
Sir, but in the
Based
case
on
of
their recommendation,
Nagaland, in
the
the case
center
of
notifies
Nagaland,
the
the
particular
assembly,
area.
no sir, but in the case of Nagaland, on more than one occasion, the assembly has recommended the repeal of AFSPA. And that, that really is the problem. The army is caught, you're
All
caught
right,
in between. You're caught between the center
No,
and the states.
Rajdeep, let me tell you, the issue is that the moment Armed Forces Special Power Act applies to a particular area, the onus of maintaining the law and order in that shifts to the center and the armed forces. Let me tell you about Nagaland itself. Can somebody answer on the panel that NSC and IM, which is the largest group of Naga insurgents as of now, they are maintaining a separate group in Nagaland. We have a ceasefire monitoring group, and no army can enter their area short of 1 kilometer of their camp. Every year they have a passing out parade. They have a complete, they have a almost like our Republic Day parade. They have it there. Their numbers have gone up. The weaponry held by them has gone up. Why have they not been disarmed? All these groups who are talking of removing the Armed Forces Special Power Act, let me tell you, army is never comfortable operating against their own citizens because we never take them as enemies. We do not have defined enemy in front of us, then naturally we require some kind of an instrument of protection to operate against them. Otherwise, as far as army is concerned, we are well trained to fight a defined enemy across the frontiers. And if at all we are being employed inside the country, we require some instrument for protection. That's it.
I take your point, but as a
Whereas
result,
that is not available now. Can somebody tell me?
yes. No, it appears to me that it appears to me that there is a trust deficit. It appears that at the end of the day, there is a huge trust deficit. Let me take that to you, Mr. Kenya, as a member of parliament. When you and others are calling today for the repeal of AFSPA in Nagaland based on this one incident, is there a trust deficit between Naga civil society?
No, Rajdeep.
Yes, General Roy, very quickly.
No, let me tell you, it is not a trust deficit. It's part of the politics. The state does not want to take on the responsibility to rein in these insurgent groups because they require it for their existence. And they pass on the buck to the center. And the only way to do that is declare the area disturbed where the armed forces will get deployed there. And they will operate, and whatever happens thereafter, like today, this incident of Nagaland today, which we are talking about, if it was only by the armed police of the state or the Nagaland police, then nobody would have worried about it in the center. But because the action is by the army, because the instrument of the Armed Forces Special Power Act has been applied in that area, the onus of everything is with the center. So therefore, there is a politics in it rather than
I take your point, General Roy. General Roy, I take your point. At the end of the day, there is, the fact is, there is a gaping trust deficit that exists between Nagaland and Delhi. And unless that is bridged and bridged on a consistent basis, you will have, unfortunately, possibly other instances again where there will be finger pointing. The people of Nagaland, as Mr. Rio said on the program, are peace-loving. The average citizen wants peace, and no one wants innocent civilians to be caught in the crossfire. And it will require accountability and justice for the families of those who were killed in a case of mistaken identity. Nagaland deserves greater attention. Thank you all very much for joining us there.